Hello planning mashers and welcome. Today we are talking about habit trackers, more specifically different ways you can set them up in your bullet journal. Habit trackers are an amazing tool of developing new skills, new habits, and generally improving yourself. So make sure you give it a try, and moreover, if a certain format didn't work for you, don't despair, just try a different one. Without further ado, let's dive in, and here are all the wonderful ways you can set up habit tracker in your bullet journal. For my demonstration today, I am using my A5 art journaling notebook, and of course everything will be linked in the description as always. The first few trackers are going to be yearly trackers. The tracker I'm setting up right now is so-called Year in Pixels. This is a whole year-long mood tracker. It works pretty easily. On the left side, you write the dates. On the top, you write the months. And on the right side of the tracker, you create a key where you assign certain colors to certain moods. And on the day, whatever you feel like, you just color the square with the mood. If you feel like you have maybe more than just one general mood, you can color one square in two colors, or you can actually widen your tracker so that each day has actually two boxes, not just one. And that way you'll be able to add more variety to your daily moods. Another way to use this tracker would be to create a year of workout tracker, which could work pretty much the same way. You just assign special colors not to your moods, but to your types of workouts. Next tracker is based on a calendar system of future logging. I actually got this idea from Planning with Kay here on YouTube. I will link her in the description. If you want to track things for a longer period, this could be a great option for you. The way it works is pretty simple. Again, on the left side, it's the days, but on the top, I have different sections. And each section is for a month, and each section is as wide as many habits you want to track. So in this example, it's 6 habits. So each of these columns is 6 boxes wide. And on the left side of the tracker itself, there is a key. So each box actually stands for a certain habit. As you can see, I did make a mistake there, and I used my stencil, which is for 7 days. But as always, my white jelly roll pen helped me to fix everything. In this case, I managed to fit just 3 months, but if you want to have more months and you have less habits, it will be easier. Or you can even just create this habit tracker on 2 pages to include the whole year or half a year. There are several ways you can fill this tracker out. You can just cross out the dates, you can draw little black dots, you can create a special pattern, you can just black it out, or you can assign color to each habit and just color the box of the habit with the assigned color. The next habit tracker is probably the standard one, and personally when I started bullet journaling, that was the tracker I was using. It's a horizontal tracker, so you write all the dates on the top, and as you can see, I highlighted a special area where I also write the days of the week, because this is kind of an important factor for me. And on the left, you write all your habits. You can create a tracker like this of a much bigger size, and it's really useful if you have a lot of routines or a lot of habits to track, because you can actually use the whole 2 spreads for that. But in this example, I'm just creating a very basic 1 spread one. What I don't really like about this tracker is the fact that I need to turn it. And that's why I like this other way to set up a tracker much better. This is a vertical habit tracker. The setup is very similar to your year at a glance, except for at the top, you don't write the months, but you create little icons symbolizing your habits. It's really useful to use icons here because it saves the space, so you don't need to write down the whole habit, and it looks much cleaner. If you're afraid you're gonna forget what everything stands for, just create the key on the side explaining what icon stands for what kind of habit. And to fill it out, you can just color it. And in this example, I also decided to black out the habits which I missed. It's simply from the aesthetic point of view, and also that way I can see more clearly which are the dates that I missed. Next format is a 2-page tracker, and it's a horizontal tracker as well. The setup is pretty much the same as in the previous horizontal habit tracker we talked about. Something new I'm trying here is that I decided to divide all the habits by different categories. Now, this is very useful, first of all, if you have different types of routines. For example, if you have a morning routine habits and evening routine habits, you can write them here and divide it that way. But also, if you just use different kind of areas of your life or different kind of things you're working on. For example, here I have health-related habits, workout habits, mindfulness. It's easier to track it, and that way it's also easier for you to see if you're maybe doing not enough in certain areas you are working on. You can actually have similar division in the other type of horizontal tracker we talked about before as well.
Let's go.
Next type of habit trackers are individual habit trackers, where you create little tracker for each habit you want to follow. I like this format because it works very well if you don't really have that many habits to track, which is actually my preferred way of working with my habits. I realized that the more habits I'm trying to track, the less productive I am in doing so, the less likely I am to complete them, because in the end it becomes very overwhelming and just a chore to fill out all the trackers. That's why on my monthly basis I try to track maybe 4 to 5 habits. And this kind of habit trackers really help because they look really cute, they're easier to set up, and they don't really occupy that much space. First format I'm working on right now is pretty easy. On the left there is a habit, and on the right there is a grid where you write the dates of the month. For 30 days, just make a grid 15 boxes long. For 31 days, make it 16 boxes long, and just black out one of the boxes. The thing I don't like about this particular type of habit tracker is the fact that you can't really see what are the days of the week. And for me, it's really important because that way I can see what are my patterns, whether some habits I do more often on weekends or some others I slack on during the weekends. And there is actually a little trick you could use. If you're just using a black pen to note which habits you completed, you can use a color to color the weekends at least. So that way it will be a little bit easier to orient. On the right side are also individual habit trackers. I'm just showing you different ways you can design them depending on which one you prefer and which one fits your style and your bullet journal theme better.
Let's go.
I did make a huge mistake on one of the trackers, and as always, I'm using my white gel pen to fix it. Honestly, this is the best thing you can get for your bullet journal if you are worried about fixing your mistakes. The final tracker is actually a circle tracker, and here I'm using my stencil to draw circles. If you don't have one, it's not a big deal. You actually can just use maybe a thin washi tape to create one. To create a 31 or 30 days, you have to divide your circle into 32 parts, which is pretty easy. You draw all the basic lines to divide the circle into 8 parts, and then each of the small parts you divide by 4. So this gives you 32 days. You can either color the extra day in black like I did, or you can just not create a full circle. Next type of habit tracker we're talking about is a Doodle Tracker, and I think the original was by Bujo with Becky. I will link her Instagram account in the description so you can check it out. The idea here is pretty easy. You create a doodle which has different parts, and you assign each part of the doodle to a certain habit. Now, as you can see here, I created a key, and each part of my camera stands for a certain habit. Next part is a little bit difficult or more time consuming because you have to draw as many doodles as there are days in the month. For this example, I just draw 3, but I think it should be enough for you to understand how it works. So you assign a doodle for each day, and every day when you complete a certain habit, you color the part of the doodle which stands for that habit. It's pretty fun. It brings kind of a coloring book fun to your bullet journal, and moreover, you can really customize these trackers to fit your theme. If you have a photo theme, you can use little doodles of cameras. If you have a floral theme, you can use a doodle of a flower. The limit is literally your imagination. Next type of habit trackers are weekly trackers. Tracking your things weekly can be very, very beneficial. It's much less stress, it's less intimidating, and especially with some big life-changing habits, it's easier to follow them week by week versus trying to track all of them for the whole month. So here are just a few design ideas on how you can add habit trackers to your weekly spreads. And while I am working on them, I just wanted to mention that if you want to know more about habit trackers and how to use them and what they can give you and what are some things that you can track, I will leave the link in the description to a few of my blog posts There are also a lot of free printable habit trackers in the resources vault, so be sure to check that out as well. And the final habit tracker is the one I almost forgot about, and this is a circle habit tracker. Honestly, I've been absolutely obsessed with circle habit trackers ever since I started bullet journaling, and I'm just so happy that I finally found a way on how I can create them in my journal, because my first attempts kind of failed. Basically, you create a circle and then a few circles inside, and for that I'm using stencils, but you can absolutely just use anything circle shape you have. And as for dividing, we use the same system we did before. Divide your circle by 8 parts and then divide each of your smaller parts into 4. In the middle, you can create a key for your habits, or you can doodle some stuff. And personally, I went with doodling some florals. So the way you can use your circle habit tracker is by creating and color coding your habit. So you assign certain color to each habit and then you just color them on the day when you complete them. Another option would be if you created your circle with 32 days and you have some space between the day 1 and day 31. You can actually add little icons there to symbolize your habit, something similar to what we did in vertical habit tracker. Always remember that if certain format didn't work for you, don't give up, just try a different one. I'll see you in the next video. Keep bullet journaling and don't be a blob. Bye!
Go.